What's up guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about a very highly requested topic, which is lashes, and most specifically bottom lashes. So I'm going to be sharing with you all of my tips and tricks and secrets behind customizing both your top lashes and your bottom lashes. If you guys have any questions when this is over, you can absolutely make sure to ask them in the comments below in case there's anything that I don't go over, but I assure you I probably addressed it all in this video because if you haven't noticed, I'm a talker. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so let's first get into all of the tools that you're going to need. So you're obviously going to need lashes. Today for the top, I'm going to be using one pair from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This one is called So Hollywood. So it's kind of spiky and flared. I'll mention later like what's special or important about the lash styles. You'll need two pairs for the top. I'm going to also opt for this second pair that I know where I got them, but I have no idea who makes these eyelashes. My best friend Laura was at my house a year ago, and I miss you very much, Laura. But she was at my house a year ago, and she left these eyelashes here, and I've never really had a reason to use them. So I'm going to cut them up today, and I'm going to use them, and I'm going to think of her. So those are the two that I'm going to use for the top. You can honestly choose any lashes that you want for the top. Totally up to you. And then you're gonna need one pair of lashes for the bottom. So I'll introduce you guys to the two that I recommend a little bit later. So you're gonna need 3 pairs of lashes total to get your look done. You're also gonna need eyelash glue. I'm gonna show you guys 3 of my favorite brands of eyelash glue to use. You're gonna need some tweezers and you're going to need some scissors. My scissors and tweezers are both from Anastasia Beverly Hills. But for scissors, you really want to make sure that you have a small pair of like eyebrow scissors like these. Try not to use really big pairs of scissors because you're going to be cutting tiny little strips of thread, which are the band of the eyelash. You want to make sure that you have something that's going to be like really finely pointed and narrow at the top that can get like right into that band and not cut too much of your eyelash. So that's pretty much all you're going to need aside from, you know, prepping whatever makeup look that you're going to wear underneath. So definitely make sure to curl your lashes and wear mascara as well. I've already done that, and I put a little bit of a black liner on my top lash line today as well. You don't necessarily need the black liner. That's just kind of what I went with for my look today. So let's place this guy. And really quick, let's talk about glue. I'm going to show you guys the 3 glues that I use the most. So number 1 is my tried and true that I have introduced you guys to before. This one is kind of an older packaging. I believe that the packaging now is black and the writing is purple, but it's the Duo Brush On Adhesive, and this is the dark tone. They make this in a dark tone and a clear tone, but the dark tone is my favorite. They've also changed the interior packaging as well. So the old packaging used to be this like tiny little brush tip, which I prefer. The new packaging has like a little like rubber spatula thing. Whatever, the formula is still the same. I prefer the old packaging with the brush, but whatever. So that's my first one that I use pretty much all the time. Second is House of Lashes eyelash glue. I have used their eyelash glue forever. Generally, I use the clear tone from House of Lashes, and then this one is specifically the Patrick Ta collaboration with House of Lashes, but this one is excellent. And then third, I'll use my Glam Girl Cosmetics LinerLash. I did in one of my more recent, my like peppermint look video, I showed you guys how much I love this eyeliner. It comes in a clear and a dark tone. It's really easy to apply. It has a brush tip to it, so, and I just got that all over my hand. Cool. So it has a brush tip to it, so it's like a felt tip eyeliner, and the cool thing about this one is you can apply it and then pop your eyelash on right after you apply it onto your eyelid, versus having to with most other glues you gotta wait like 15 to 30 seconds. This one is instant and it's super long wear, waterproof. super easy. And I love using the clear tone one for applying like rhinestones and little embellishments and stuff. It's easy to just like dot that on and then pop your rhinestone wherever you want it. So quick little intro into the glues. I'm just going to place my eyelash now. I think I'm going to use the Duo one. Okay, our first lash is applied. This is how it's looking. Again, this is a really good base to use. Nothing that's like too overwhelming to me, that this isn't too overwhelming. A lash like this, at least for my taste, needs a little bit more. So whatever you're comfortable with is having as kind of like a light lash for you that can use a little bit more bulk and maybe a little bit more length, but nothing that's like overly heavy at first. So we can tell that this is definitely my heavier pair, my like kind of like mystery brand pair. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna start cutting. So I'm gonna take one of these lashes off the band. This band is pretty thick. And from here, I pretty much just need to decide what I want this top lash to look like. Do I want more fullness on the outer corner? Do I want more fullness in the center? Do I want something that's kind of like spiky? Do I want something that's kind of like spiky all the way across? What kind of lash am I going for? For me, I love a spiky lash. Spiky is kind of like my favorite thing. So one of the things that I'm going to do now as well is I'm just going to like introduce this lash on top of the lash that I already have and just kind of see what that looks like when I place it on top. So this has no glue or anything. I'm just kind of like letting that sit there because this is going to give me an idea of what this lash is going to do to that bottom lash once I put it on top. Okay. So I can definitely see that if I start adding more on the outside of this lash, it's gonna get really heavy. So I don't necessarily want that. So I think on the outer corner, I'm gonna keep like maybe skinnier, spikier pieces through there. But I do like the kind of like chunky spikiness that's happening through here. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pop that guy off and I'm going to split these like big chunks. So we can see how this has like kind of like big chunks of lash going through. I'm gonna cut each of those chunks in half. So let me see if I can show how I'm doing this. So this last chunk here, I really hope this is focusing. Please focus. This last chunk here, we're gonna cut him in half. Maybe if I put this against the color of my face, it'll work. Okay, we're gonna cut him in half. Okay, and now that I cut him in half, I'm gonna take the piece that's left and I'm gonna cut him off. So what I'm left with is a smaller piece like this. So this tiny little lash piece now, I can start to decide where I want to put these kinds of pieces. And I'm gonna go across that entire lash and I'm gonna cut each of those little chunks in half. And I'm gonna use all of those little pieces. So really what I can do from here is I can start just kind of placing some lash pieces and seeing where I like them. So I'm going to quickly cut all of those lash pieces. I'll come right back and show you guys the pieces that I'm left with. Okay, so I have cut all of my pieces and I just put them in the tray. This is all of the pieces that I ended up with by just cutting that one lash. So I still have one whole lash left. So this will definitely give me enough to do both eyelashes. So I'll just keep this extra piece as kind of like a extra cutting up eyelash so I can do this again in the future. So now to place all of these little pieces, I'm gonna start creating like a little reserve of glue here right on my packaging so I can dip my lash. So I'm gonna take a lash piece. Let me see which piece I want to start with. Start with this guy. This looks like a good piece. Okay, so just to give you guys an example, show you guys what the piece looks like that I'm gonna place. This is what it looks like. This like very curly little piece. So what I'm gonna do, hold it from the very tip. I'm gonna dip the like bottom part. I hope you can see this. Ooh. I'm gonna dip the bottom part where it's going to be resting on my eyelash into some glue. Ideally wait like a couple seconds, but I'm always impatient and I dip and then I just immediately start applying. But I'm gonna make a bold decision here. Let's put this guy right there. Boom. And you just kind of lay it on that lash. Oh yeah, that was a good choice. So we'll just kind of like lay it against that lash and then just be careful and don't really like manipulate it much while it's drying. And then it'll dry in place, and again, you should be able to rip this lash off when you're done and have a completely full eyelash. So let's take another piece. Again, we're gonna dip the bottom of that in the glue. You can wait a couple seconds, but I usually just dive right in. I'm gonna go right in front of that guy and put this one right here. I'm gonna do a real spiky lash today. Ooh, I already love that. And we're just gonna keep going. So with every piece I pick up, I just kind of determine what size it is. So like this next one, for instance, is kind of a small one. Ooh, let me see if I can pick it up. Ooh, there we go. So this next one here is kind of like a small little piece. So that one is gonna go in front of the last piece that I placed, dip the bottom side of that, and then we'll go right in front and place. So I do have, what I really like about that lash is it gives me kind of a bunch of different sizes that I can cut up. So I have some skinnier pieces, I have some thicker pieces. It gives me a lot of option within that lash to have a lot of different pieces to stick in there. So I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna start working on the outer corner now. Let's grab like a kind of bigger piece. Let's see here. Usually on the outer corner, I don't like anything that's like overly heavy on my eyes. So before I ever add anything, I'll usually just kind of like do a little audition for the piece first, just to see how I'm liking it. If I can get it to cooperate, maybe. So I'm thinking of this guy right here. And yeah, that looks good. So take him, dip him in some glue, and commit. Okay, so I went ahead and just mimicked the other side, and that's pretty much it. So that's usually what I like to do to customize my lashes. I like to cut up into pieces, and from that whole lash, to do both sides, I used every piece except for 3. So, and then I still have an entire lash, I still have an entire lash left. So I'll keep that, and I will save them in kind of like my little collection of misfit eyelashes to piece together. So now, the thing that you guys all came for, I'm sure, let's talk about bottom eyelashes. So first things first, with bottom eyelashes is you need to use the right eyelash. So I know that you guys are all used to what like individual eyelashes look like individual flares. I'm gonna give you an example of like what individual flares look like. These are the House of Lashes Patrick Ta. So you can see the little individual flares there. They have a knot up at the top and then they flare out. If you want the most natural looking, or in addition to, if you want the most natural looking and you also want a really dramatic eyelash, what you're looking for is something that is wider at the base, so wider closest to the lash line, that tapers really, really thin as the lash comes out. So like similar to how my lashes are kind of like spiky, where you have more fullness of like, let's say like this spike in particular. You have more fullness of it down here at the bottom at the base of my lash, and then it tapers really nice and thin as you go out. That is kind of like 9 times out of 10, that's usually one of the mistakes that I see people making with eyelashes, is they're not using the right bottom lash. So don't use individual flares. They usually don't look all that good. In my opinion, if you've been able to get them to look good, awesome, kudos. But I've never been able to. So don't use something that is thin at the top and then flares out. Use something that is wide at the top and then tapers down. So if you can find an eyelash like on a band or something that looks really good, that is wide at the top and skinny, like in like little sections, then you could apply that entire lash down on the bottom. Or usually you're probably going to want to cut up some pieces. I find that if you cut up pieces and attach them individually, they're going to look more natural and they're going to be a lot easier to apply. So the kind of lash that you're looking for is something that is generally spiky. So I'm really just like pulling out all the House of Lashes today. But these are both 2 different pairs from House of Lashes. I don't know why this packaging got so dirty. And it's gonna drive me insane, but I'm sorry, I can't get the mess off of this package. But this one is the Allura Lite from House of Lashes, and we can see that you have a lot of like really, really nice spiky pieces, and those spiky pieces are what you're looking for, because in those individual sections you're going to be able to cut those spiky pieces to have the wider base with a nice taper. Here's another option that is from House of Lashes as well. This one in particular I really love for the spiky inner corners right here. That's going to give you like some really, really good small pieces. So what you're going to do is you're just going to cut this up into bite-sized pieces. You're gonna cut it up into little pieces. Usually what I like to do is sometimes I will cut them uniformly. I will have every single one be cut the same size. Sometimes I'll cut thicker pieces and thinner pieces so I can get something that's like a little bit more kind of chunky and piecey looking on the bottom. It's totally up to you. Like, bottom lashes are gonna look however you want them to look. This is just the way that I like to do it. So I'm gonna use the Allura Lite pair from House of Lashes. And I'm gonna take one of the lashes off. I'm almost a little bummed I'm doing this because I really like this style, but oh well. So we take the lash off, and I'm just gonna start cutting this into little sections. I'm gonna do, I think with the way that this lash style is, I'm going to cut some thicker pieces and some thinner pieces. So just to give you guys the best possible view of this, I'm going to hold this lash with this little tray underneath to catch the pieces that I cut, and hopefully you can see how I'm about to cut this. So let's move that like that, and here we go. So I'm going to cut a little piece there, and let's do like another little guy, another one, and just keep going all the way across. Just cut little pieces. I can't even see right now what I'm cutting, so really it's up to you. So you want to cut that all the way across. I'm just gonna quickly cut the rest of this so it's not so uncomfortable, but generally just the same as with the top lash, you will likely be able to do both of your eyes with just the one lash. The only reason why you wouldn't is just if you feel that you don't have enough similar size pieces to be able to make the 2 eyes look the same, then maybe you want to cut the other piece. But usually I'm able to make it work with just the one eyelash, so I can still have the other one available to cut in the future if I want. So I've basically cut this guy all the way across, and here are the little pieces that I am left over with here. And we're gonna do the exact same process that we did for the top, where I'm just going to have a little reservoir of my glue. I'm gonna dip my little piece in the glue, and then I'm going to apply it. So let's start applying. First, I'm gonna pick my piece. I always start my bottom lash application in the center of my eye. So I usually apply what will be the centermost piece, and then I work either outwards or inwards from there. So let's apply our centermost piece. What do I want to do? This guy looks good. Okay. So I'm just going to show you guys what this little piece looks like really quick. So you can see it is thicker at the base and it tapers nice and thin towards the top. That's going to make a really nice bottom lash. So let me get my little reservoir of glue ready. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna dip the very end or the very tip of this glue, this little lash piece, into the glue. So dipping right into that glue there. Again, you can wait a couple seconds if you like. It'll probably make your life easier, especially with the bottom lashes, because placing bottom lashes can be really tricky. So another big mistake I usually see done with bottom lashes is that bottom lashes should be applied the opposite way that your natural lashes are. So on the top, your eyelashes scoop up. On the bottom, they should scoop out and down, not up. So you're gonna take your lash from the top and then you would flip it the other way. So the lash that goes on the top on this side would go on the bottom on this side and vice versa. So we have our little piece here. Come nice and close. I'm gonna go underneath my natural eyelashes. Do not glue these on top of your natural eyelash. It's gonna be a pain to take off later. So best thing to do is kind of look up into a mirror. I have my mirror up here. And we're gonna slide this guy right underneath and pop him as close to the lash line as possible. So taking a look at this, I hope you guys can kind of see what I'm seeing, and that this is going kind of like diagonal here. So really what I'm gonna do is I just kind of use the other end of my tweezers, or just my tweezers in general, to kind of like move and manipulate and position this. You also want to make sure that it's not sticking straight down against your face. So if it's applied and it's sticking straight down like that, that looks a little unnatural. Your natural lashes curve out from your lash line, and they curve downward. So they're gonna come out and down. So you want your little lash piece that you apply to do the same thing. You want it to come out and start to come down a little bit so that it's not stuck against your face. So that's our first piece. Usually I will do both eyes at the same time, but I'm gonna do just this eye today so you guys can kind of see the difference. Right now, let's move on to the inner. Usually I'll do the inner pieces just because I usually like smaller pieces towards the inner corner, so I want to make sure I get the right pieces. So I'm taking another little tiny piece, this guy right here, and we're gonna pop him right in front of the last one. I usually do anywhere from 4 to 5 pieces under my eye. Just depends on how close together you want them. I usually space them, about this distance from each other. And again, just kind of like mess with them, push them around until you're happy with the placement. Always making sure that you are kind of like lifting them up a little bit so they're curling out naturally with your bottom lashes. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So we'll move on now. This is probably good for the inner corner. I think I'm gonna apply really only 2 more, maybe 3 more. We'll see how it goes. So let's grab another piece here. I'm gonna dip that in the glue and we'll place him right there. So you want a relatively even spacing between all of them. And make sure that your eyelashes are not like twisting to the side or anything. Everything is kind of coming out and laying down naturally. The one that I have in the center is coming kind of straight down. These ones here are kind of like either tilted slightly outward or slightly inward, and that's just to kind of accommodate for the curve of my bottom lash line. I want these to like hug and accentuate my natural lash line as much as possible. So let's apply one more little piece, and then that is it. I will match the other side, and then we'll be done. Let's take this little guy and make sure I'm in frame, that'd be nice. Right there. Perfect. Yeah, so I think 4 pieces is probably good. I could do one more piece, but I don't really think I need to. I like the little gap that I have right here. So that's it. It is really that simple. I'm going to match to the other side, and then we can do like a little recap and summarize the most important parts to remember. So I will be right back. All right, I matched the bottom lashes to the other side. I managed to do it with just the one lash, and I have all of these little pieces here left over as well. So another really great tip if you want to save your bottom lash pieces, or like I mentioned, any of your other like little top lash pieces, a really good thing to do is because these bottom lashes, if you get some pairs that you like really like, or like some pieces that you really like, just like with top lashes, they're entirely reusable. In my opinion, bottom lashes usually for me are even more reusable than my top lashes. So I highly recommend repurposing a tray like one that you would use for individual eyelashes here. So if you have an old one, or if you don't mind buying one and getting rid of all of the individuals that are in it, or using those for another purpose, you can repurpose this little tray here and take all of your little individual pieces and keep them in one of these trays so that they are a little bit easier to store versus having them all kind of like floating around like this. When they're all floating around like this, I have a tendency not to use them because it's messy and I'm a Virgo. But that's gonna do it. So I hope that this was helpful for you guys. I hope that if you were struggling with bottom lash or top lash customization, that this helped to alleviate some of those struggles for you, because I know that I have been asked about bottom lashes for so long, and I've never really had the time to dedicate to making a video all about it, because while it is kind of a simple application, there is a lot of little tips that go into it, as you can see. So a couple things to remember, particularly with your bottom lashes: make sure that you're using the right kind of lash, something that is nice and spiky, and your individual piece that you're applying is thicker at the top and tapers to a nice point. You're flipping your lash the other way so it's coming out and down and it's not scooping up. You're going to glue your lash underneath your natural lashes, not on top. Otherwise, you're going to have a nightmare trying to take them off. And then storing them, just have like a little tray like this that would normally store individual eyelashes, and you can hold on to these eyelashes for a little bit longer. And again, I would pull this lash off right now and show you whatever. Okay, I'll pull off the lash and show you guys how this will come off as one entire piece. So now I have this one entire piece that I can go ahead and apply again, since I love it. But now that I look crazy with one last lash, I am going to go ahead and say goodbye and say thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.